it's not just from the White House. There's a growing change and upsurge in American public opinion that we did flatten the curve, but now it's time to move on. Remember, the lockdowns, at least in this country, were sold as, hey, we need to prevent the hospital system from being overwhelmed from the initial rush of cases, not as a long-term until a vaccine comes along type process. So Americans have realized that, we've achieved that initial goal, but they're growing restless. But many in the media and certain Democrat governors are insisting on continuing the lockdowns indefinitely. And they're running afoul of American public opinion on this, as a lot of these media outlets and Democrat governors seem to be moving the goalposts further from what they'd originally said the purpose of the lockdowns is to be. So, and as one might expect in an election year, this has been very politicized, with the Democrats and the mainstream media being the party of lockdowns, with Republicans and President Trump being the party of, hey, it's not without risk here, but we have to open up to some degree, or the economic and human costs will just be too much.
So the testing rates, are they continuing to move ahead at great levels? Because really that's the only way, isn't it, that business can reopen in such a safe way?
That's what the American media would have you believe. What's kind of becoming more and more accepted in many media outlets and on social media is maybe the real metric here isn't infections. Remember, half of all people that get this, a third to half, are asymptomatic. So they're not going to show up, unless you're testing everybody, they're not going to show up. They're going to spread the virus. But what we have learned is that the people that are really at risk fall within certain categories. Older folks and people with pre-existing conditions are over 90% of those that end up being hospitalized or dead. So the focus, people are asking the question, maybe we should be just protecting those people and devote resources in that direction rather than just chasing our tails with infections. So maybe infections are just kind of an outdated metric right now.
Donald Trump, he's picked, he's always picking fights on Twitter. He's got this stoush going with Barack Obama at the moment. Can you enlighten me on what's going on there? He keeps tweeting Obamagate, and Obama in the last few hours just tweeted vote, which I suppose is an inclination for Democratic followers or his supporters just to vote against him. So can you enlighten me on what's going on there?
Well, what's happened recently is a lot of new documents have come to light from the FBI, Department of Justice, and testimony by a lot of Obama officials that said one thing in public, but then in private admitted that the entire Mueller-Russia investigation really wasn't predicated on anything at all. So you have statements where they'd say one thing for the media and then another thing when their testimony was sworn and they under penalty of perjury. They basically admitted that there was no real reason for the Mueller investigation. So it looks to many Americans and many media outlets that this was an attempt by Obama appointees and holdovers, or deep state people, as you will, to undermine the new administration and set up certain officials. For example, with regard to General Flynn, there's actual notes by FBI agents saying, what is our goal? Just to get him to lie? Or is our goal just to be able to prosecute him to get him fired? That the motivations behind this weren't really counterintelligence or law enforcement, but were political in nature. So that is starting to come out, and that's inflamed a big section of the American public. But going forward, what's really going to tell the tale is there's been a prosecutor appointed by Attorney General Barr who is looking at all of this, and he should have a report by the end of summer, and that should bring some clarity.